Roots cut into stone. The mystery begins with a contradiction. Tracks carved into solid limestone appear to follow the pattern of wagon ruts, yet no known ancient wheel technology could cut stone this deep. The Malta cart ruts cover the islands of Malta and Gozo, stretching across cliffs, fields, and even into the sea with no consistent orientation. Most date to the Bronze Age, around 2000 to 700 BCE, but no written records explain their purpose. Archaeologists mapped thousands of parallel grooves, each typically 8 to 15 centimeters deep and spaced about 140 centimeters apart, close to the width of a modern axle. Some sets run for kilometers. Others cross each other at odd angles. The most puzzling are the Clapham Junction clusters, where dozens of ruts meet in dense networks. The limestone shows signs of softening from water erosion, suggesting that wheel tracks may have been carved when the rock was wet and softer. No single theory matches the evidence. Ideas range from agricultural sledges to water transport channels to ceremonial pathways. Yet none explain why the ruts drop off cliffs or why some disappear abruptly into the coastline. With no artifacts tied directly to their creation, the mechanism behind these stone tracks remains unsolved. Idol older than Egypt. The twist appears in the dating. When the Shigir Idol was reanalyzed in 2018 using accelerator mass spectrometry, its age tripled. The carved wooden figure from the Ural Mountains turned out to be about 12,500 years old, older than the pyramids, older than Stonehenge, and older than the first known farming settlements. Its survival is due to burial in the acidic peat bogs of the Shigir region, which slowed decay. The idol stands 5.3 meters tall in its reconstructed form and is made from larch wood split from a single tree more than 150 years old. Its surface contains geometric symbols, zigzags, chevrons, and what may be stylized faces. These marks resemble motifs seen in Upper Paleolithic art from Europe and Siberia. Archaeologists identified at least 8 distinct sections, stacked vertically, each possibly representing different spirits or mythic beings. No one fully understands the meaning of the carvings. Some researchers argue they form a narrative meant to be read from top to bottom. Others suggest the figure served as a boundary marker or a ritual guardian in the early post-Ice Age landscape. But without comparable wooden monuments from the era, the Shigir Idol stands alone, a message from a culture with no surviving records. Jars too heavy to move. The mystery starts with the scale. Thousands of massive stone jars, some weighing more than 10 tons, sit scattered across the plain of jars in northern Laos, yet no one knows who carved them or how they were transported. Most date to the Iron Age, around 500 BCE to 500 CE, but no texts describe their makers or their purpose. The jars rest in clusters across more than 90 sites, often positioned on hills overlooking ancient trade routes. Archaeologists studying Site 1 near Fonsaven found that the jars were carved from sandstone, while others in distant clusters came from limestone and granite quarries kilometers away. Some jars stand over 2 meters tall. Many were found alongside stone discs, human remains, and burial goods such as beads and ceramics. These findings support the theory that the jars were linked to complex funerary rituals, possibly involving secondary burial where bones were reinterred after initial decomposition. The surrounding landscape complicates the picture. Bomb craters from the 1960s remain scattered across the plain, limiting excavation. Radiocarbon data from 2016 confirmed human activity long after the jars were placed, but the exact method used to move the stones and the cultural logic behind their size remains unknown. A horse carved in chalk. The key twist is its age. The Uffington White Horse in Oxfordshire, England, was long assumed to be medieval, but optical dating in the 1990s revealed it was created around 1000 to 700 BCE during the late Bronze or early Iron Age. The figure stretches 110 meters across a chalk hillside, formed by deep trenches filled with bright white crushed chalk, yet nothing about its stylized shape matches known art from the region. Archaeologists examined soil layers around the trenches to reconstruct maintenance cycles. The horse's trenches appear to have been regularly recut for generations, meaning it held continuing cultural importance. Its minimalist, abstract design resembles motifs seen in Celtic metalwork centuries later, suggesting long cultural continuity. Nearby earthworks, including Uffington Castle Hill Fort and the Neolithic burial mound known as Dragon Hill, indicate the area was a ceremonial landscape. Despite its prominence, the horse's purpose is still unclear. Some scholars propose it marked territory or served as a tribal symbol visible from far distances. Others argue it was part of ritual activity involving seasonal festivals, given its alignment with the midsummer sun. With no inscriptions or matching artworks, the identity of the people who carved and maintained the figure remains unresolved. Lines across a nation. The surprise lies in their scale. The Sajama lines of western Bolivia cover more than 22,000 square kilometers, a network of perfectly straight paths etched into the Altiplano. Some extend for 20 kilometers without deviating more than a few meters. despite rugged terrain. These lines, created by removing dark surface pebbles to expose lighter soil beneath, have been tentatively dated to at least 3,000 years ago based on nearby archaeological sites. Researchers mapped the lines using satellite imagery and identified thousands of intersecting routes, forming a dense geometric web. Many converge on ancient shrines known as wakas, small burial towers called chulpas, and pre-Inca settlements. These connections suggest ritual use. Pilgrims may have walked the lines during ceremonies linked to mountain worship, which remains central in Aymara culture today. Yet the sheer number of lines, likely more than 15,000, exceeds what is needed for any known ritual circuit. No evidence indicates the lines served as roads or irrigation channels. Their remarkable straightness implies careful surveying, but no tools or markers have been found. Without written records from the region's early cultures, the identity of the people who built this landscape-spanning network is still unknown. A temple beneath Malta. The twist appears in its design. The Hypogeum of Hal Safleani is a 3-level underground complex carved entirely by hand around 4000 to 2500 BCE, yet it mirrors above-ground temple architecture that does not survive elsewhere in Malta. The chambers include carved doorways, columns, and corbelled ceilings shaped directly from bedrock. The site was discovered in 1902 during construction in Paola, revealing more than 6,000 human remains. Archaeologists analyzing the remains documented red ochre patterns on walls, carved spirals, and acoustically resonant chambers. One room, known as the Oracle Chamber, amplifies low-frequency sound through carved niches. Excavations revealed evidence of repeated use over centuries, including offerings, carved figurines, and high-quality pottery from the Hal Safleani phase of Maltese prehistory. Yet no clear evidence indicates who designed its complex layout or how long the excavation took. Radiocarbon analysis shows the Hypogeum predates the island's megalithic temples, yet shares similar iconography. With no written records, researchers cannot determine if it served as a burial sanctuary, an initiation site, or a ritual venue. Despite extensive excavation, the purpose of its deeper chambers, some sealed in antiquity, remains unresolved. An unfinished pyramid. The mystery starts with its abrupt halt. The Pyramid of Zawiyet el-Aryan, often called the unfinished Northern Pyramid, shows only a massive T-shaped trench carved into bedrock, yet that trench is engineered with the precision of a completed royal monument. The site sits between Giza and Abu Sir, and is commonly linked to a short reigning ruler of Egypt's 4th or 5th dynasty, around 2500 to 2400 BCE, but no foundation text or cartouche confirms its owner. Archaeologists documented a finely cut descending corridor leading to a large rectangular pit, possibly intended as the burial chamber. The trench walls show polished limestone casing markers indicating that construction was planned at a monumental scale. A single granite block engraved with partial hieroglyphs was recovered in early excavations, but its damaged state makes attribution impossible. No sarcophagus, burial goods, or workers' tools remain on site. The site's location complicates investigation. It sits within a restricted military zone, limiting modern study. Early 20th century excavators reported mud brick structures and workmen's ramps, but many were later destroyed. With access restricted and inscriptions incomplete, researchers cannot confirm whether the pyramid was abandoned due to a king's early death, political upheaval, or a shift in royal burial practices. A city under the sea. The key twist is its preservation. Atlit-Yam, discovered off the coast of Israel near Haifa in 1984, is a Neolithic village submerged about 8 to 12 meters underwater, yet its structures remain intact. Radiocarbon dating places the settlement around 6,900 to 6,300 BCE. Rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age gradually flooded the region, sealing homes, wells, and human remains beneath layers of sand. Underwater archaeologists mapped stone-built rectangular houses, paved courtyards, and a 5-meter deep freshwater well that still contains preserved wooden components. One of the most striking finds is a megalithic stone circle arranged around a spring, suggesting ritual activity connected to water sources. Skeletons recovered from the site show early evidence of tuberculosis, making Atlit-Yam one of the oldest known communities affected by the disease. The cause of the village's abandonment remains debated. Geological studies suggest a sudden tsunami may have contributed to the final submergence, supported by sediment layers indicating rapid flooding. Others propose gradual sea level rise forced relocation. Without written records and with much of the site still buried, the full story of this coastal community remains incomplete. Stones in perfect rows. The puzzle begins with precision. The Carnac stones, more than 3,000 standing stones along the Brittany coast of France, form long, ruler-straight alignments that stretch for nearly 4 kilometers, yet they were erected around 4,500 to 3,300 BCE with no known surveying tools. The stones vary from small pillars to massive 7-meter menhirs weighing several tons. Despite centuries of study, the purpose behind their layout remains unresolved. Archaeologists mapped the alignments at Menek, Kermario, and Kurliskan, and found that each Each row consists of stones quarried from different local sources, transported several kilometers, and placed upright in soil pits. Excavations around the stones revealed hearths, pottery fragments, and post holes from associated timber structures, suggesting a long-term ceremonial landscape. Some rows terminate in stone circles or cairns, indicating that multiple monument types were linked over generations. Researchers tested theories ranging from astronomical observation lines to territorial markers to processional routes. Although some stones align roughly with solar positions, the pattern is inconsistent across the 4 major sites. No burial chambers or inscriptions provide clear evidence. With centuries separating construction phases and no written Neolithic records in Western Europe, the guiding principle behind Carnac's geometric order remains unknown. The steps' hidden circle. The twist came from the air. Arkaim, often called the Russian Stonehenge, was identified in 1987 during a survey for a proposed reservoir in the southern Urals. Aerial photography revealed a circular fortified settlement with concentric walls, streets, and homes. Radiocarbon dates place the site around 2050 to 1750 BCE, roughly contemporaneous with the Sintashta culture known for early chariot development. Yet Arkaim's layout has no direct parallel in the region. Excavations showed 2 defensive walls built from timber and clay, with an internal ring of houses arranged in precise radial patterns. Each dwelling had a hearth, storage pits, and metallurgical areas for bronze production. A central open square suggests planned communal activity. The uniform orientation of structures indicates astronomical awareness. Several sightlines align with solstice sunrise and sunset points, similar to later step observatories. Despite these discoveries, the identity of Arkaim's builders is uncertain. No written records survive, and few portable artifacts link it to known cultures. The settlement was short-lived and intentionally burned, possibly during migration or conflict. Its combination of urban planning, metallurgy, and sky-aligned architecture makes Arkaim one of the most complex prehistoric sites in the Eurasian steppe, and one with no confirmed explanation.